Hey y'all, it's Kate from LoveStory, and today I want to talk about audiobooks. So, I understand that some people don't like audiobooks for various reasons, and I used to be one of them. I didn't think I could concentrate with someone else reading me a story when I could just read it with my own eyes, and for the longest time that was true, but this year I've come to embrace audiobooks, and I've fallen in love with them. I listen to them all the time, especially working from home right now. I listen to them during my workday when I'm just sitting at my desk answering emails and doing various things at the computer. And you can, if you have headphones and a smartphone, you can listen to them literally anywhere. So they're really great at boosting your reading count. But there's other reasons that I would suggest reading an audiobook. Also, my hair is something crazy. So besides increasing your reading count, because you can read it anywhere, it also can help you get back into reading. If you listen to an audiobook of, say, a book that you loved reading as a kid or even as an adult, listening to someone else read it can help you get into reading, back into reading yourself. It can help. I love listening to like memoirs and essays, nonfiction writing as audiobooks, and listening to especially the author read it themselves. You hear their words, their stories in their own voice, and it brings a different meaning to the book, a special meaning to the book when you can hear the author read their own words in their voice. So the third reason why I love audiobooks is that there are some books that you just can't get through reading in print or on ebook. And for me, audiobooks have been a way to help get through that, through some of those books. So now I'm just going to talk quickly about some of the audiobooks that I've loved and some that helped me get through some hard readings. So I mentioned nonfiction and memoirs. Two of my favorite audiobooks that I've listened to this year include Becoming by Michelle Obama, which is her memoir about her growing up in the Chicago area and meeting Barack Obama and becoming the First Lady, and her journey through life. And listening to her read that book was so powerful and amazing. I highly recommend that book however you read it, but the audiobook was just incredible. And now I heard she has a new podcast, which I have to go check out because her audiobook was amazing, so I'm sure her podcast will be great too. So that was Becoming by Michelle Obama. I also just recently listened to actually a book of essays, Thick and Other Essays by Tressie, McMillan, Cottom. And I've talked about this before. Sorry, I thought I was gonna sneeze. It's still coming, but it's not there yet. So Tessie's book is a book of essays about growing up as a Black woman and what that means now and in today's society and all of that. It's really powerful, really amazing, and it's just like Michelle's book. It's so powerful listening to her read her own books, her own essays, and the words in her voice gives it an extra power to it. I listened to The Dutch House by Patchett, the audiobook, which was narrated by none other than Tom Hanks, and he did a fabulous job narrating this book. This is one of the first audiobooks that I listened to, and I lost track of the story at times, but I kept listening to it because he was such a great narrator. I was surprised by how great he narrated this. I don't know why I was surprised, because he's a great actor, but it was a great narration of the book. And so sometimes the narration of the book can help make it even better, make it more enjoyable. And this is the case for The Dutch House by Patchett, narrated by Tom Hanks. I really enjoyed listening to that book. I don't think I would have enjoyed the book as much if I read it in physical form with my own eyes as I did with the audiobook. and some classic audiobooks that I mentioned, listening to audiobooks of your favorite kids' books or books that you loved growing up, and 2 of the classic audiobook series, the Harry Potter series and the Golden Compass, his Dark Trilogy series by Philip Pullman, are 2 really great audiobook series. I listened to the Stephen Fry, I think it was, version of the Harry Potter series, and that was amazing. He had such great enthusiasm, and I love Stephen Fry to begin with, but him narrating the Harry Potter books was fantastic. I've also heard really great things about the Jim Dale version. I haven't listened to that one yet, but Harry Potter, you can't go wrong. Whether you agree or not with the politics, Harry Potter series, the books themselves are amazing still. And his Dark Trilogy, so in previous videos I've mentioned that I've only read the first book, The Golden Compass, in physical form, and now I'm on to the 3rd book of this trilogy, the last book, in the audiobook, and I'm loving it. It's an ensemble cast, and it's great hearing different voices for different characters, and it makes you fall back into that childhood mode, which I think we all need these days with everything going on. And so audiobooks are a good way to get into a different form, because when you're, I don't know about you, but when I'm reading a book, I hear it in my own voice a lot of times, unless there's a movie that I'd already seen. But when you're listening to the audiobook, you're forced to hear it in a different voice other than your own, because it's there feeding it into your head. So audiobooks are a great way to get into a different mindset than what you're currently in. And then I mentioned that they're great to get you through some books that are harder to read in the physical format. And for me, 2 of the books that I'll mention are Ulysses by James Joyce, which is a classic DNF book. Hundreds of people, I'm sure, have DNF'd Ulysses. It's one of the hardest books to get through. And for me, it had been on my DNF for a very, very, very long time. And then I listened to the audiobook version, and it made it so much clearer and so much easier to understand that I was able to get through the book and able to somewhat understand what the book was about. And the other book that I'll recommend for audiobook is Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. I read the physical book first and I enjoyed it, but it was hard to keep track of the timeline and who is who. But listening to the audiobook made it so much easier to keep track of everything. And the audiobook is one of the books that's recommended over and over and over again. So Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel, and I'll put all the books in the description. But that's my take on audiobooks. I highly recommend it, especially if you're trying to get back into reading. But that's my take on audiobooks, and I'll check in with you guys again soon. Let me know what your favorite audiobooks are. Like, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. And I'll see you again soon.